Hey, my name's Shadow Steel, and you're watching Trackside. All aboard?
Okay, guys, so we are in Railworks this time around for our, I guess you could say our Trackside video today. So we are going to go through the Great Northern Cascadian Route and do a pretty much end-to-end run through the Cascadian Route on the Oriental Limited. And this is going to be an interesting scenario because I've run into a few bugs here and there. And as we get the game loaded, it's going to be, well, more or less interesting. Alright, there we go. Game running. Alright. It's late summer 1928. The electrical gantry has been installed but hasn't been energized yet. So, like we've always done, we'll run can't even pronounce that, to the original 1900s Cascade Tunnel under steam power. So, okay, let's get going, shall we? The brake's already running. I don't need to really worry about that. Alright, let's move. Turn on the light or something? God damn it. There we go. Yep, what the fuck was that again? Is there like a plane flying overhead or something? I don't know. So, one thing I will say about this route, I've been playing around with this route for a while now, but there is some little details of what I'm doing with this route that I really enjoy so far. Now, this is basically the what is called the this is Stevens Pass, essentially, just with electrified catenaries and backdating. So we'll be driving most of this route as the Stevens Pass version of the route, but after a while, the route itself will change over to a new version of the, like some areas of the Cascadian routes that you haven't seen before. So we have that going for us. We keep going. I really hate the fact I can't do crap and have all of them shouting out like that. So I'm going to be doing a continuous recording session with this. So essentially we are going to be recording all the way through for this scenario. The first two Steam scenarios, and then I'm going to probably pause the video essentially and change a few things on the video HUD, which basically we show the locomotive essentially, and swap it out for another locomotive. So the whistle on this locomotive is a different whistle than what we're normally used to, in that it's, or rather, this is basically a remake of the Spokane, Portland, and Seattle 700. It uses the exact same model. The only difference is the front end of the locomotive is changed. So they added a few child objects on the front of the locomotive, but it's basically the exact same model. I really do like that though, because it does allow the developer G-Trax, who designed the locomotive, to basically release the locomotive as freeware without really any problems, because they have the equipment and stuff to model this properly. Now, granted, the locomotive's original whistle was, of course, the SP&S 700's old whistle, but I decided to swap it out with a Great Northern style 5-chime, as we'll soon hear as we approach the yard, or approach our train. There's also a lot of other things about this route that I do enjoy already. One such thing is that at certain locations you'll definitely notice that, whoops, at certain locations, you'll definitely notice the influence of Stevens Pass still present, like the original Stevens Pass route. While we get moving, I'm gonna have to flip the switch here. Like a lot of the equipment around here is of that. Oops. A lot of the stuff around here is Stevens Pass assets that was redone for a backdating kit, essentially. Now, there are backdating kit mods available for Stevens Pass to change it back to like 1960s, 1950s kind of era routes, because that's when electrification kind of was removed from Stevens Pass. But interestingly enough, when you get this route, it's $30 on Railworks America. I will admit that. That's actually pretty pricey, but comparing that to Stevens Pass as a normal route, Stevens Pass on Steam is $40, which is rather expensive when you're getting a brand new route. Not only that, but the route is not available outside the United States. So I will admit that the way they, now I don't know if this route is available outside the United States, but I will say that if it is, you do have access to essentially an older version of Stevens Pass, where you can actually run Stevens Pass equipment such as BNSF equipment. Now, I'm pretty sure that most of the Stevens Pass equipment, most people have Stevens Pass now, but by now I'm not sure. Running into our sister. We get moving, so we have our train coming up just ahead of us here. We'll go ahead and check out what we got. So this is our passenger train that we're taking. 8 passenger cars here. And interestingly enough, these passenger cars are actually already available to the public if you so choose. These cars are actually freeware content on the Golden Age Railroading site, where you can download the locomotive rolling stock. Or like 90% of almost all this rolling stock is available for free if you don't want to buy the route. And that is probably one of the most impressive things I've ever seen from a DLC route, is that almost all the assets, excluding a handful of locomotives and cars, is pretty much free right off the bat. The $30 that you get with this route is basically probably just some minor backdating changes. So some assets are like the electric locomotives you'll eventually see during this video. But other than that, there is like a lot of this stuff is either already on the already existing version of Stevens Pass, and there's not many changes done to it, or there was like some sort of minor change, such as like right there, that car right there, that truck right here. If I can get out, God damn it! If I can get out of this view here. Oh boy, I missed the stop. Oh well. So I must have passed that stop by accident. Anyway, this car over here. Okay, I'm gonna. Never mind. Should I restart? I'm starting to debate that, really. I really should debate that. You know what? Fuck it. I'm restarting. I missed that spot right off the bat. I'm like, because there's a text box right as you stop there. Okay, I'm not going to go through reading this again. Okay. So the bell on this locomotive, already the Spokane, Seattle, and Washington's bell. Whoops. Got the similar tracks. So, as we kind of move out of here. So, excluding a few assets, like this one, the coal hoppers, the tank cars, they're found already on a lot of G-Trax's existing routes. Like there's, these cars can be found on the Bessemer and Lake Erie route, the hoppers here, but they have the Bessemer and Lake Erie font on them. These tank cars are on every 50s and 60s route that G-Trax has released already. as well as a few other routes. These cars here, these are on the Besburn Lake Erie. These are part of free. This actually can be found as part of the this can be probably found as part of just a This looks like a modified version of the Besburn Lake Erie cars here. More Besburn Lake Erie cars. Probably this is part of the. This is part of their Great Northern Wagon Pack, so on and so forth. You got like a ton of assets here that are already available through other means that you could probably build this on the normal G-Trax, on the normal Stevens Pass without really having to worry about, going through and getting the route yourself. Even the catenaries right above us are actually from Sacramento Northern. So the catenaries are already Sacramento Northern catenaries. They already have that for you. And like I said, if you look around, you definitely come across a lot of assets that are, relatively the same. Whoops, I'm speeding again. God damn it. Keep doing that. And the cab for the locomotive is not that special. A few opening windows and doors and whatnot. But relatively speaking, it's not that impressive. I mean, you can't even open up these little hatches up here, but that's because the model is reusing essentially the model of the 700. Not very many cab views or anything. Oh god, bouncy. Even if you go outside, I opened up the windows inside the cab, but you don't see them outside. So essentially, we do have some this is like a very cool little route that I've gotten, but for $30, not entirely worth it depending on how you look at it. Because this is a backdating route through and through. Backdated heavily to 1920s, 1930s era style. Why is my locomotive slowing down so significantly though? This is weird. I've been having issues lately. So as we approach the town again, I'm going to show off a few more assets that you've probably seen here or there. Like this bridge up here, parts of it are probably from Sacramento Northern already. Now, if you don't know, the G-Trax did Sacramento Northern, which was released at least a year ago now. And some of the assets here are from the Sacramento Northern and Besburn Lake Erie. Once again, some more boxcars. These are USRA boxcars, United States Railroad Association boxcars. A couple more. Great. Now, I've recently discovered this, but a handful of these boxcars and rolling stock equipment that you'll find with no letters, there's one of two reasons behind it. One, the boxcars could essentially be from another railroad that was either not part of the initial agreement for the route's release, or something other for another reason. For example, I noticed that in some of the file data for some of the passenger cars that you get on the New Haven Springfield line, some of the Besburn Lake Erie route, you actually see that one of the passenger cars is labeled as Blue Stripes, which in the its in-game name. However, if you look in the editor, it actually says B&O passenger car, and that's interesting because the B&O passenger car, because the cars do look very similar to the Baltimore and Ohio passenger equipment. It's finally coming to a stop there. Interesting. And once again, it's like a lot of these cars you'll come across. Like I was actually talking about the equipment up ahead, actually. But yeah, this is like one of those very significant little things that I really enjoyed. already off the bat. There's like several things you'll come across throughout this entire route that really gives off a unique feel to it. I'm going to go ahead and go through. I'm getting ready to stop here. So once again, we need to stop on the mark we missed last time, so I'm not going to screw this up again. Play a little bit of brakes. That'll slow us down as we approach the crossover here. Going over the crossover now at 15 miles an hour. Now what I'm doing is essentially trying to avoid blocking the signal as we approach it. So once we get over there, okay, now I gotta stop. There. Let's hit the brakes running. We just barely made that too. Now, once again, I'm going to talk about the truck there. That truck is from the Sacramento Northern route. You can actually find it in the asset list. All right. Reset the switch behind the tender and gently, keyword there, gently, couple to the coaches on the first platform. I've already set the brakes running, so... So, like I said before, these cars are available through the Great Golden Age of Railroading, which is typically referred to as Great Northern in the editor. So, essentially... Oh, shit. Oh, single behind. Thank you very much. Jesus Christ, I could have screwed that up horribly. So, you can get these Great Northern cars for free, or you can pay $30 and get them for a little bit higher price, essentially. Try and hook these cars up gently here. Oh, what the fuck? Alright, easy does it. It really does feel like we're, oh god. Bam! Alright, so our departure time is 11:30. Pickup time is 11:28, so we're right on schedule, actually. I put the brakes on self-lap. Gonna open up the doors. Gonna open up the cylinder cocks. Gonna put some coal in the fire. Gonna put some water in the tender. Or, not water in the tender, water in the boiler. And we should be getting ready to go. Now I do want to at some point actually update the sounds on this locomotive to be more or less more realistic per se, in that the chuffs and bell do not sound right. I've already modified the bell to a proper bell. I mean whistle to a proper whistle. The whistle is a Great Northern 5-chime. Which, speaking of which, I'm going to go over to the crossing and we're going to get a good whistle shot. I've actually taken screenshots on this end. Might as well do this side now. Already got kind of. There we go. I will admit that these little things are nice, little yellow stop signs. I wish I could use them for my route. Kind of blew that out of the water. I'll talk about that later, actually. All aboard! I really wanted to do that for once, actually. What I'm going to do here, if Bandicam is working, I might actually be able to do... it's not even on. Fuck me. I tried... Of course, Bandicam was not active at the time. Well, the fucking thanks. Yeah, there it goes. That's me. It's working. Oh, God! What the f... Somehow that happened. Wait, what? Oh, you know what? It's already in the taskbar again. God damn it. I've been having issues with Bandicam lately, and it's really getting annoying. Because it's like, it's in the background right now, it's just not working at all. I got, what I'm trying to do is I want to get a little video of the locomotive running by, and it's becoming a pain in the ass to get Bandicam to work with the new update. You see, Railworks went through a new 64-bit update that essentially allowed the game to use a little bit more memory than it was used to. But yeah. Okay. Now that we got that going, we'll turn up the HUD here. Start recording here. I do like the fact that you see the words Cascade on that building out there. You can hear a slight loop with that as well, or at least in terms of the whistle. It's always nice to see a locomotive accelerate out of the station, especially when the station's right next to a crossing like this. Also, these crossings should have bells active, as you heard earlier in the video, but for some weird reason that the bells... This is becoming a big issue with my game as well, is that the bells somehow don't activate half the time. It's like 50% of the time, if you get like a certain position on the game, you actually end up, not having the bells work at all. As we're starting to accelerate, I'm going to lower the reverser just a tad. Everything's working. Everything's running smoothly. Go ahead and go to the passenger view for a little bit and ride the train. Oh, what the fuck? Okay. This is one thing I will admit that is actually kind of fun. So like I said, we're going to be doing an end-to-end scenario run, essentially. The scenarios are split into 3 parts. But there was also another option I could have done. A quick drive scenario over the entire route. Now, quick drive is enabled on this route, but due to like how intricate the route is designed, I decided, well, let's go ahead and like how the route, I don't know how the quick drive would work on this route, but I decided that I was gonna, do a scenario. There's the bells. You can hear that now. I keep sounding that whistle way too early, too. There's also some interesting little tidbits about this locomotive, at least in terms of how it runs. Because it's a remake of basically a different version of the SPNS 700, her physics are that of the SPNS 700 model, the E1 Northern. And as such, her physics are terrible when going upgrade. this old girl tends to lose steam rather quickly, but she will run at top speed. Like, I will push the throttle all the way up. I have the reverser at 25, and you already see we're already rushing past 40 miles an hour. And then we get to about 50 miles an hour, just lower it down a tad, we're back to normal. I mean, seriously, this is ridiculous. I mean, granted, I do love a fast steam locomotive, but for a route like this, she's not going to be very helpful if you start losing steam so quickly on a gradient of over 2%. Yes, we're going to be hitting grades that are over 2%. Here we go. We're rushing past this section now. So I want to say that this section, that direction, it's like a older main that we can travel, or like a branch line or something. I don't know what it is exactly, but this is essentially the exact same section of like, you could actually travel this on Stevens Pass if you wanted to, like shot for shot, route for route. I actually have a couple screenshots of the exact same locations of a modern version of the routes, the Stevens Pass version, and then the Cascades Route, essentially. So you've got like two different versions. In fact, as we approach the crossing here, I'm going to pause it real quick. Oops. Nope, wrong button. What did I just press? What did I just press? I pressed print key and I don't know what it was. Okay, so this section right here. As you'll soon see with a screenshot that I took a while back, this section has changed little between the two eras. Okay. Oh god, we're speeding. Okay, sorry for the little clip there. But I went silent there because I really wanted to talk about, because that section is going to be swapped out with a special little video of that little crossing there. That crossing is the first thing you run across on this scenario, and holy crap, it's literally shot for shot the exact same spot as an earlier video I made featuring another locomotive. When you saw it right there, it's the exact same location and everything. There's very little in regards to it being changed and whatnot. I think other than a few crossing signs and whatnot, like the crossbucks being swapped out and the electrification being removed, we're in the same exact areas as Stevens Pass. Now I'm double checking some like key numbers here just to make sure that we don't overspeed or anything. So our destination, our next spot is Dryden. We're going to Dryden, or going via Dryden, and then we're stopping at that station, which is about 18 miles away. So we don't have too far to go, but at Dryden we pass another steam locomotive. So we have some more action ahead of us. Oh, fuck, I didn't even see that. I should have not stopped whistling around there, but okay. Got a fruit farm. A fruit orchard, that's what it is, not fruit farm. What the hell am I thinking? I do love the fact, though, you do get the opportunity of very fast running with steam locomotives on this route, especially on areas like this. This area is very helpful for fast running, and it's really beautiful later on in the route during the 1900s, the pre-abandoned line, the pre-1929 route. Because the pre-1929 route, if you look through it, oh my god, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. And I probably will do another video of the post-1929 section, the post-1929 realignment. And I think there was another change on the route right around, I want to say it was like 1930, 1940, when they did another significant change, but I don't know if that's actually the case. Now, I do have plans, at least in this video, to say the least, that we're going to really talk about, like halfway through the video, we're going to go into detail about like why the route was built, what is the history of the route, and the history of some of the locomotives, or rather one of the locomotives that comes with the route, the Y1 electric locomotive, which you'll probably see towards the end of the video. But this is honestly one of those beautiful routes that when you come across it, it literally just takes your breath away. I mean, I haven't traveled down Stevens Pass, the modern one that was released by G-Trax not too long ago, but it was one of those like little routes, at least in my mind, like that came across as like, ooh, that looks nice, but it's diesels, and I don't like that. Like I grew up with more of I grew up more or less around steam locomotives. I love steam locomotives. But I never could drive them on simulators. With Sims, it was always difficult for me to grab some sort of like control over each locomotive. And as you'll soon see, these locomotives do tend to be a very difficult beast to drive when their physics don't work. Now, crossing up ahead. That crossing whistle sign there is very cool. I really do enjoy it. Oh, it's already 3 o'clock. I didn't even notice. Once again, we're coming up to some rolling stock that actually, oh god damn it, I recorded again. That's what print screen does. I've noticed that there's a small jolt with the game. Okay, this caboose is actually part of the Great Northern Wagon Pack that you can get off Steam on the marketplace. That is, if you are in the United States. I have to apologize for those that can't get these cars outside the United States because they're kind of cute, honestly. You got I didn't even notice this until recently. They have a little logo on the end of the car that says safety first. And like all the little details and everything. But there is a fun fact about this car in particular. This car is labeled as X200, is a X200 caboose. As you can see by the numbers on the side here. Usually this is X200. But once again, as we mentioned with the Sacramento Northern's catenaries here, this car is also on the Sacramento Northern route. You can get this car inadvertently through Sacramento Northern. Granted, it has no association with the Great Northern's livery, but it's still the same caboose. They actually reused the model, and I really am impressed with kind of those like little details that G-Trax decided to pull off in terms of like really looking into like, okay, what do we have to lower our workload that we don't have to really stress over and, you know, try and put something together like this, like build it from scratch. Like a lot of the assets, this could probably be like one of those things like people say, oh, these guys are lazy. They're just reusing old assets. Well, if you think about what goes into building a route, and I'm actually, like I said earlier, I'm actually building my own route. There's a lot of effort that takes, that like looking into modeling my own route. Like modeling my own route, like assets that I would have to build from scratch, is daunting to say the least. There's actually a part of my route that I've actually just what I would call kit bashed a few like key items together to make a single building. And that's probably an amazing idea for those who are looking for a little bit of creativity. And some buildings, like in the Sacramento Northern, there's actually a modular school building asset you can build. There's a modular school that like split up into sections. You can build it to travel however you like. And I decided, well, I'm going to build it as a barracks on my route. And it gives you a lot of freedom. But in short, unless you are really like into like modeling your own route from the ground up, it pays to really reuse assets if you have them. Like once again, the SPNS 700 model that they simply rebuilt into this locomotive. It was a great idea because not only are the physics the almost like they have all the coding involved with them, but not only do they have all the code all ready to go, all they really have to do to model it, and apparently this is like one of those things that can be tricky, is add the smoke, the air pumps, which that's what these are, air pumps at the front of the locomotive. The air pumps and the headlight, its position is very different to the 700's model. So some minor changes to you and me can be big pain in the asses when you actually look into modeling these locomotives. And I gotta admit, like, what they did here was very impressive, to say the least. I mean, building my route from the ground up, I learned that the catenary poles that they have, they're actually buried in the ground by about, a couple meters or so. So the pantographs that they have actually stick through the top. And what I learned is that they're actually about 9 meters lower than they should, and that what you have to do to put them in place is raise the entire track by about 9 meters, place the catenaries, then lower the track about 9 meters. And that is actually a very interesting way to go about it, but it's also a very but it does give you some interesting ideas in terms of how to build the route. And it's just like, I love routes like this, these older generation routes, the 1920s, 1950s routes. Transition era, that's what it is. That's the era, that's the word I'm looking for. Transition era routes. I very rarely come across a so-called transition era route that I don't like at all. And this is one such example. Granted, this is the exact same route as Stevens Pass, but with just some interesting little changes here and there. Whoops, not again. And I have to admit, some of the assets are really like, I would love to use them, but because the route is a third-party route that is payware, it's kind of like one of those things that I do not want to really use because I want to limit using all those assets. But yeah, it's the only like third-party payware content I'm really using on my route as of right now is scale rail, because the scale rail content that I have looks beautiful once it's put in place. But that's just my opinion, honestly. We're already on a gradient here, but I didn't notice it until now. We do have some water and coal we need to put in, but I don't have water just yet. I can deal with the water without. I don't have to deal with the water too much right now. Coming up to a clear block, then a yellow block. Sounding the whistle as we approach a crossing here. Right, shutting down the steam. Now, as we approach this area, I have to worry about a yellow block, which we just passed. Now, we got to go through and start braking for the red block just ahead of us. I will admit, oops, hold on. There is one thing I do want to point out with some of these locomotives you'll come across on scenarios like this. There are some, I guess they missed, there's a limited amount of numbers you can put on these locomotives. So some of the locomotives do have their auto renumbering set up, but occasionally you'll come across locomotives like this, where in scenarios they will not have a proper number, and that's mainly because these are static locomotives. They don't actually have any sort of relation to their like running operations, so you don't have to worry about them, and neither do the developers. Well, that's interesting. Never saw that before. Oh well. There's still like little things I keep coming across on this route that I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Like, yeah, see, so because this locomotive doesn't have a caboose, it's not actively an active service locomotive. It's actually more of a yard goat, I guess you could say. Has some Great Northern refrigeration cars. Well, this is another car that is a Bessemer Lake Erie asset you can find, but was just repainted, relettered. And I will talk about that on another video of mine. I plan to split these up a little bit, but yeah. There are some crossings like this that are messed up though. Plunk. Oh, the car running into the locomotive like that does remind me of a little video. This video I think is like one of the most famous, like one of the most, I don't want to say famous incidents in terms of railroading idiot drivers. I don't know how I would describe this guy. But this video is one of the more, like, what the hell is going on in that car kind of moments. It's a video of a guy, it's from the perspective of one of the passengers on this tourist train that's slowly pulling into the station. It's going like, I would assume like 5-10 miles an hour as it's going over a crossing and entering a platform. But as the guy is looking out with his camera, he's literally got his camera on, recording as you see a station wagon, what's it? It's one of the National Lampoon Vacation. That's it. That's what I was thinking of. The National Lampoon's Vacation, Family Vacation. It's the action. I guess they call it action wagon or something. I don't know. But it was one of those it's a literal station wagon, and the guy is traveling. I would say about he's like 20 miles an hour at least. He's not going too fast, but it's obvious that once he's going fast enough where when he hits the train, which is literally like less than a mile an hour at this point, like 1 or 2 miles an hour at this point, the front of the car crumples in. The hood crumples in enough where you can see that there's a bend in the hood. It's a small bend. While we're waiting for the signal to change, I might as well show it, because this is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. But it was also one of the, like, what the hell kind of moments. Oh, we got it clear. We are on approach. I'm gonna keep putting water in the boiler here for a little bit as we leave, but it's one of those little moments that I do enjoy doing. Or, well, it's one of the, like, this is where things get tricky, because we're gonna be chasing yellows, as the term would say, because we're directly behind another locomotive. And as we'll soon come across another red block later on, but also, if you want to know why I haven't been really going through and doing the like smooth panning shots, it's actually because I don't have my Xbox 360 controller plugged in anymore. That controller was starting to fall apart on me, quite literally. And it was one of those like, maybe let's not use that anymore. Because if I were to pick it up just a tad, the controller literally just like goes like, no, it's like, it like freaks out. It thinks the controller's plugged in, then unplugged and plugs back in. And I'll probably be one of the first to really like go through and say like, yeah, it's probably because it's a wired controller. But yeah, I don't know. So we have how many miles to go? 3 miles. And there we go. Passing through that. And now we're approaching our top speed, track speed here. 40 miles an hour, track speed. And under the bridge. Woo. And now we're at track speed. I'd lower the regulator, not reverser. There we go. Staying steady right there. Got another signal coming up. Most likely a red block. I will go ahead and go forward and double check. Yeah, this is the next red block. Yeah, I forgot about this. Now, technically, I could have waited at the yellow block to wait until it got a green block, but that's not really what I should do in terms of keeping my schedule. Okay, we're coming up. Holy shit, we're coming in fast. Slowing down though. This is our signal. Where are we? Oh, there we are. You're coming in hot. Or maybe not. We're at like 12 miles an hour now. What the hell? Every time I say what the hell, I can't think of Trevor Collins from Achievement Hunter. This was, I gotta admit, this was kind of funny. It was from an off-topic podcast, and they were celebrating 10 years of Achievement Hunter, and after a while, like they were going on a food tangent, and after a while, like Jeremy looks up at, I guess, one of the monitors because it's a video podcast, so they have cameras everywhere. And he literally just says, "Why is Jack in the balloons?" Because they had green balloons. I mean, it's Achievement Hunter. They're green. And, like, Trevor and everybody looks up at the monitor, and but Jack, who already is aware that he's keyed into the balloons, which key in means that, like, he was green screened into the balloons, literally, like, looks up and starts dancing around in the balloons like a dork, like a goofball. And it was like, but it was Trevor Collins, who has the most straight face. Like, he, like, is like it's just like one of these faces. It's like, what the hell? Like, he doesn't even, like, he doesn't even show any direct emotion. It's like, what? Like, it's like one of those, like, I might as well just show the clip because it's so hilarious.
Because usually I'm drunk at the time.
You alcohol and fast food is a fucking trifecta.
You love that. That's your favorite combination.
I love a lot of things about you, Jeremy. But when you're like,
why is Jack in the balloons?
Did they key the balloons?
What the hell?
Yeah, Jack, get out of there.
Move him around, Jack. You gotta keep your face in it.
Hold on. Is it this
that one, yeah. Lower it, Trevor.
Oh, it's like a weird 80s movie. Get some tongue action.
Oh, there. I got a clear block right inside Project. I don't know what N does, honestly. We do have some more screenshots coming in, though. I do have some plenty of shots coming up for me, for you rail fans here. And speaking of screenshots, I do want to announce this properly now. Granted, this is after the update video is initially going to be released, but I do plan on a return of the screenshot of the week system that I had probably last year or so. It was about a year now that we've not really done the screenshot of the week, and that was because of one guy. Now, I would show a clip of the screenshot of the week, or the one that caused this issue. But it was one of those things like, well, if he's an asshole, just just leave it alone. I don't want to antagonize him anyway. But yeah, this was one of those, like, screenshot of the week moment. Like, it was one of those, like, little things that I don't explain it in the update, but it was one of those things, like, I come across them, like, yeah, well, that's a given. I'm gonna go move. Pause. Okay. One thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna do a little video recording about here, because this is actually one of these little bridges here are some of my favorites to get screenshots and videos of. Oh no! Holy crap. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the desktop here in a second, because we just had a file dump of probably one of the biggest issues right now. So, one thing I will note about Railworks recently that's become a slight issue now here and there. It's been fixed, thankfully, because of some minor, like, details now here and there. But, I want to say, okay, I'm going to go over to the Scene tab on OBS, which is already set up to the desktop. And what you're going to see, so I have OBS open right here. You can clearly see that I'm not recording my mic audio through OBS, but instead capturing the desktop audio. And yes, the background. If you want to see it, there's the background. Hyperdimension Neptunia, girls. God, made that sound weird. But this right here, this file dump, this popped up right as I got involved with that, like as I pressed the record key on Bandicam. And that basically means that the game essentially just crashed. Basically, it ran out of memory. And because I didn't bother, oops, wrong tab. And because I didn't really bother with saving, we basically have an issue. I have to do that entire scenario beginning to end again if let's just say, so basically this is the end of this video. So much for a continuous recording session, guys. Like and comment down below. Subscribe if you guys want more. I will probably be fixing this later on, because this actually gave me the opportunity to fix the physics on that locomotive as well as the bell. But like and comment down below. Subscribe if you guys want more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Which, by the way, maybe some hunting. But who knows?